Seems so. I got the host access even. Yes. Let me share my screen and then start the IAM today. A very important and then very foundational service of AWS. So let us go and then start the IAM. I'm just opening the notes. Just give me a moment. Let me open the notes and then let us start the IAM. Okay, however, I'm preparing the notes and also whatever the notes I prepared, I might have been already shared with all of you folks. However, now let us go and then start IAM, identity and then access management. Very, very important. Identity and then access management. Very important service, foundational service. Without this service, other services might not be worked out because of the permissions and all. Okay, so hope you are all able to see my screen. It seems to be service number 1, that is IAM. So let me write it. Service 1, that is IAM, identity and then access management. So IAM is the abbreviated form of identity and access management. IAM meaning identity and then access management. It is a global service. So that means in AWS, few services will be available in few regions, few available zones. I'll explain what are the regions, what are the availability zones. That concept I'll explain in the coming up sessions. But global service meaning that is not belongs to any of the regions like Mumbai region or any other region. It is not belongs to any region. It is not belongs to any region. So let me just log in. Enter the security check. Let me enter the password. Again, let me enter the security check. Perfect. Now we have been logged in. By default here we got the Mumbai region. So these are all called as the regions. This Mumbai is the region. This is the available zone. Regions and availability zone available zones concept I'll explain coming up sessions. But what I mean to say is this IAM is a global service which is not belongs to any region or any available zone. See, it changed to global. It changed to global. A lot of things we need to discuss in IAM. Please carefully observe. So IAM is a global service. In our cloud practitioner certification examination, the optional questions being the bit, what is that? The multiple choices questions will come, like which of the following is the global service? So like that, the questions will come. Or which are the following of the services are the global services? Then options will be given, 6 options, 8 options will be given. However, it is a global service, which means it is not associated with any of the AWS region. So most AWS services have a region scope. However, a handful of them has the global scope. So IAM has a global scope. Okay. So what this IAM will talk about? IAM will deals with the management of the users, groups, and the permissions. Users, groups, and the permissions. So we need to understand a clear difference between the user, group, roles, users, groups, roles, and permissions. At least these are users, groups, roles, permissions. That's it. And policies. Only 5 concepts. Users, groups, roles, permissions, policies. That's it. Only 5 concepts are there in this IAM. Okay, however, other concepts also there. We will discuss them slowly. In other words, using the IAM service, we can create users and groups and assign them permissions. Right? Means what the user and groups can do on that AWS account, what they can do, what they can access is what the permissions. So we already used the IAM service when we signed up for AWS. Root account we have created, isn't it? For example, go to this IAM, click on these users. So actually users are not here, but whatever the root user, meaning for us, this account ID is created, right? So we are also one of the kind of a user basically, right? So here two terminologies we will use. One is the IAM user, second one is the root user. I'll explain. So we already used the IAM service when we signed up for AWS. That is also we are also kind of IAM service. When we sign up for AWS, an AWS root account is created. AWS root account is created default when we sign up for AWS. So we should use our AWS root account in very rare situation. Actually, it is not suggestible to use directly the AWS root account. Rather, what we have to do, we have to use the IAM user. Okay, so what is this root account and all? Just we need to understand. Just let me open the draw.io tool. So root account meaning the business owner, the account owner, the AWS account owner who will be liable for the billings and then payments if we will get in future. So this is what the root user and these are what the IAM users. So the root user is called what the owner of the AWS management console, or we can say super admin. So we have the two users. One is the root account user and the second one is the IAM user. Root account user and second one is the IAM user. So two users we have. So let me just take this screenshot here. Two users we have. However, it is not entertained to use the root account directly to log into the AWS management console and to work with the AWS services. That is not suggestible, in fact. And if that root account or root user is not suggestible, then what we have to do? For example, super admin is the root. We have to create the admin. So admin user, with admin user, we have to log in and then we have to manage the AWS resources. However, we should not share this root user account, user ID, password, and then the access keys with anyone. So because more secured, if someone will know your root account ID, someone will log in with your credits and then they might use the services. Ultimately, you will get the billing. We have to pay. Assume my root account credentials, if you know, people might use my credentials and then log in and then create the machines, EC2 machines, or maybe you can start using the AWS services, which might be costly. So I have to bear that. So that is the problem if we share our root account. So it is not entertained to share the root user account, user ID, password, and access keys. So now we know that IAM is used for the management of users, groups, roles, and permissions. In other words, we can create users and groups using the IAM service. This is about the IAM service. So consider here, let us take one more note. Let us take one note here. Consider root user as a super admin and the non-root users as maybe admins and again non-admins, admins and non-admins, right? Non-admins who will be created by the root account user. Perfect. Okay, so now we should create a separate IAM users for each person in our organization. Usually, what is this IAM user? Where he will be used? He is not application user. So usually, we thought to use AWS Cloud Platform, assume. Then we have the DevOps team. We have the assume the operations team, right? So we have the operations team, and then we have the developers team. So correct. So this is what the developers team, and then operations team, and then probably manager is there, right? Probably manager is there. So manager is there, and or else manager group is also there. So let's say he is the manager group. So what we have to do, we have to enable from this operations team, few members we have to add. Maybe the lead member or one account we have to create for this one. So we have to create one account in IAM. We have to create one account in IAM for the DevOps peoples, where they can log into the AWS management console, and then they can use for their CI/CD deployment purposes. Similarly, we have to create one more user for the development team, where development team will use this user to, for example, S3 bucket is there. Developers need to update the images that are uploading by the while the customer is registering. The customer need to upload his photo. Such kind of media might we get uploaded to the S3 bucket. So probably like this, we will upload it to S3 bucket. In order to upload it to S3 bucket, so we need to use the credentials. Such credentials we have to use. In order to use, we have to create one account which will be specific to the developers group. And then one more account we have to create, one more user account we have to create, where that will be used by the management peoples, like manager, architect, solution architect, or maybe managers, right? Maybe those guys will use the other account. And probably the customer or the client is there, isn't it? So client and then customers, for them to log in and then for them to use, we have to create one more account. Maybe I can say customer. So for customer or maybe for the client, we have to use one more account. We have to create one more account. So this is how the AWS users will be created and then used. These are not the application users. Please understand. Application users meaning, for example, your Gmail is there. You are creating a Gmail account. So you are the application user, where application is nothing but the Gmail. But these guys are not the application users. These guys are the IAM users. That means these people are able to manage the IAM resources, identity and then access management resources, if they have the proper access. So not application users, and they won't be in the application database. These are all nothing but the IAM users. These guys are IAM users. right? So hope you got it. What is the difference now? Application users are different, IAM users are different, right? Perfect. So this is where we need to understand the IAM users as, not application users. Please, that is the difference. Okay. However, now these IAM users, user accounts we have to create. Who will create these user accounts? These user accounts will be created by the root account. For example, DevOps user, whatever the DevOps user we created, right? That DevOps user will take care about the CI/CD pipelines and all. So there is a code commit repository, which will be explicitly accessed by this DevOps people. And this code commit also have the access to the developers as well, but not required. So maybe developers will push the code to this code commit, but usually this is the service which will be accessed by the DevOps engineer. Developers are accessing the S3 bucket and then EC2 missions and all. Or maybe the managers will access the billing and other sections. So maybe they will have the access on the billing management, right? So they will access the billing management. And maybe the architects and all will access the infra, or the client will access everything, complete AWS cloud, complete cloud, AWS cloud. Client will have the access, complete, entire cloud, all the services, isn't it? So this is how we have to create the personas, where each and every persona is called as one IAM user, who are created by the root user. Fine. So now we should create a separate IAM users for each person in our organization. This meaning is what, for example, organization having 1,000 members, we should have to create 1,000 users. No, that is not the case. In other words, an AWS account or person in our organization should be have an account. In the sense, the appropriate persons who need a particular services to be accessed, they should have the access. However, it's a good practice to create a group for the users. Like as I told, this is one group, DevOps group. Let me take it as a text box here. Let's say DevOps group. So this is the DevOps group. And similarly, this is the developers group. So this is the developers group. Just let me draw some diagram which will be helpful for us to refer in the documentation later in time to recall the things. So this is the developers group. And similarly, assume this is the managers group. Managers group. And this is what the customers group or client group. Client. Okay, now we have to usually create the groups. In that groups, we have to create the users. That is a good practice. So what is groups? What are users? Going forward, I'll discuss. Okay, however, this is the clarity diagram about the users and all. So these are all the users: Tom, Marcus, Jock. These are all belongs to engineering group, and sales marketing group contains the Bob, Annie, and Steve, Pat, or not belongs to any group. Not belongs to any group. So in this, we will have to create 7 IAM users, isn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 IAM users we have to create, one for each employee, and then we have to map them under a particular group. So I just have given an explanation how to understand this users and then groups concept. Okay, so there are three concepts, five concepts totally we have in AWS. So in IAM service, users, groups, roles, policies, and permissions. Okay, now let us jump to the lab guide, that is creating the users. Very, very important. Objective. So manage IAM user groups, permissions, and policies. So what are the prerequisite we want? What are the prerequisite that we want to have? So a root account, an AWS control, an AWS root account, an AWS root account is the prerequisite. Okay, next concepts cover. In this lab guide, what are all the concepts let us cover? Let us cover the concepts called, carefully observe please, users creation, group creation. Let us cover the concepts called users creation, groups creation, permissions, policies, and multi-factor authentication. Multi-factor authentication, um, and managing the policies. So let me write one after the other. What are the topics that we will cover? Users creation. Users creation. Then let us see the concept of security credentials. Security credentials. We'll discuss what are security credentials and all. And then let us discuss the MFA, multi-factor authentication. Multi-factor authentication. And after this, let us see the credentials report. Credentials report. And after this, let us see the user groups creation. After this, let us see the user groups creation. And after user groups creation, let us see the few things like policies, access policies discussion, and the types of policies and all we will discuss. Policy types and all we will discuss. Then we will discuss the permissions boundary. We have to discuss the permissions boundary, and then we have to discuss the, in this policies a lot we will discuss again. So let me just even write the subcategories as well. In these policies, we will discuss the policy types. We'll discuss the policy types. Ways of, okay, we can see type of policies, policy types, and then we will discuss the policy versions, and then we will discuss the ways of policy creation, and then we will discuss the inline policy, very important, inline policy, and then we'll discuss the custom policies, how we can write our custom policy versus default policy, custom policy, and then the difference between the AWS default policy versus the custom policy. Guys, someone have turned on your camera. Can you please turn off, please? Can you please turn off your camera? Someone might be turned on your camera accidentally. Okay, then we'll go for the permissions boundary, and after permission, one more also we have here. Difference between this. Then we will discuss about the password policies. We'll discuss about the password policies. Why I'm writing, just to not to miss anything. Password policies, and after this password policy, actually before policies, we have to discuss about the roles creation. So roles creation. Then after the roles creation, we have to talk about the password policies, and then finally permissions boundary. Then once after this permissions boundary is done, then let us discuss the IAM use cases. Let us discuss the IAM use cases and case study and use cases. IAM case study and use cases. If anything I thought, then I'll add them in the middle.
Sir, one doubt.
Hmm.
Sir, while creating policy, we use JSON script, sir. So we'll be teaching JSON, right, sir?
Separate session I want to take, but I'll explain how to write the JSON and separate discussion is not required for that.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, but I'll discuss the JSON versus YAML. Let us compare the YAML and then JSON and all.
No, but in creating policy, we mostly use JSON, right, sir, in protection.
JSON only we will use the JSON, and the JSON another form is what the YAML. I'll discuss both JSON, YAML, YAML to JSON, JSON to YAML conversion, but we will use JSON only.
Okay.
Fine. So these are all the concepts that we need to cover in this lab guide. So let us slowly cover this these things. One more thing is that token-based security is also there, but okay, fine. I think this is good enough to start with. User creation, security credentials, MFA credentials report, groups creation, roles creation, access policies, and then the permissions boundary. That means the permissions creation, and then IAM case study, and then use cases. Perfect. So in this way, we will be able to complete the IAM lab guide. So theory is given plus lab guide also I'll provide. So this is the diagram of the lab guide, workflow and all. So let us now talk about the first one, that is the user creation. So let us start the first one, that is the user creation. So I'll prepare the lab guide by taking a step-by-step screenshots and all. So in order to create the user, so in order to create the IAM user, first login as a root user. Login as a root user. Login as a root user to the management console, and then in the search, then in the favorites bar, click on IAM as shown, right? So let me log in. I already have been logged in, and then clicked on this IAM. So once I clicked on this IAM, so we will be land on this one. Again, let me click on this IAM just in case. Yes, this is exactly the screen where we will be land on. Perfect. This is exactly the screen where we will be land on. Right. So IAM dashboard. I don't want to take the account ID and all. Just IAM dashboard. Okay. Just click on this favorites. Then we will be land on this IAM dashboard. Perfect. Once we land on this IAM dashboard, then step one. Click on. Okay. So before that also, we need to do one more thing here. What is that is change the alias. Create the alias. So let's say step one, let us add here. Step one, and then step two. Create an alias for the root account user, so that by using the same alias URL, the IAM users will be login. To create, click on to create, click on create button, create button as shown. So account ID, just AWS account, create this. Where you will find out this? You will find out this in the dashboard itself only. In the dashboard itself only, you will find out this alias. So click on this, create. Perfect. Now step 3.
So this account alias we will be able to find out only when we log in using root user, or even using IAM user we will be able to find this.
IAM user also have the aliases, but all the IAM users should be login with this sign in URL for IAM users in this account is there. Na? So this is the URL used by the IAM users. So that is the reason we have to create the alias for the root user only, not for the IAM users.
Okay.
Fine. So click on this create button. Now here give. So we are building it for the Shopify platform. It's an e-commerce platform, e-commerce website, not website, web application. It's a e-commerce web application platform. So just let us give the name, preferred alias, and then click on the save changes. So enter the preferred alias and then click on the save changes. Just save changes. Now what happened? Alias is created and the URL has been now created with the alias whatever we have given. Even we can delete the alias and then create the one more alias as well. But this alias is very helpful because account ID, remembering account ID is little difficult for the IAM users, isn't it? In the URL, this 14 digits account ID will be there here. It is very difficult to understand, difficult to remember. So if we give an alias, then the URL they will be easily remember. That is the purpose of it. So let me write this sentence also in our documentation. Step 3. Okay, step 3. When we click on the create alias button or link, the page, the dialog box will open as shown below. Alias creation is required. Required with the alias name. The alias name as shown below. To easily remember the IAM users sign in URL. That is the purpose of it. However, once we click on save changes. That's it. Then what is the step 4? Step 4. As soon as we given the alias, right? The alias will be created. The alias will be created with the IAM users sign in URL as shown below. So just let me take a screenshot of it. AWS account, and here is the alias. Just let me take here. This is the alias we have created, and with this one, the URL is what generated. Now just let's give this one. Now let us try to access that URL, which will be used by the IAM users. Later in time, we're going to create, right? So that IAM users will use this URL. So copy this URL, go here and then enter. So if you can see, rather exposing the account ID, it given the account alias. It came up with the account alias. Now here IAM user will be entered the IAM username and then the password. Why? Because root users login screen is different, and then the IAM users login screen is different. Root users URL is different. Why I was signed out? Actually, I have to, okay, let me say AWS management console. Let me log into my AWS management console. Why it is going to this one? It should not go. One moment, it should not go here. Okay, let me take a incognito window. In incognito window, let me, sorry, my bad. Let me log in. Let me log into AWS management console. Yeah, so this is signin.aws.management.com/signin, and here it is ap south1.signin.aws.amazon.com. This is the URL. ap south1 is what the region by default. Root user, meaning being a root user, or we have created this account in the India, and while we are creating the account, we have entered the address details and all, and debit card, credit card verification, we have given the details and all. Based on that, our AWS management console, when we logged in, is taking the region. So for me, it has been taken region as Mumbai because I have created this account from the India. So in that Mumbai region, the zone, available zone is what? AP South 1. So this is what the URL that we have to use for the IAM users. However, just let me log in now with the root user, root account user. Security check. Otherwise, what I will do is, let me give here itself only AWS dot sign into the console. See, one in the same browser, I have been logged out and then enter this URL, right? So it is every time redirecting to here itself only. Okay, however, there is an option also we have, sign in root user email. Just click on sign in root user if you want to sign in as a root user. So let me sign in as a root user again one more time. Security check, it is asking 7 years. Let me submit and password. Let me enter my password. Sign in. Perfect. Now I have been logged in as a again root user. Let me go to IAM user now. Meaning IAM service. Let me go to IAM service and let us copy the IAM URL, meaning the IAM user URL. Go to incognito. In incognito, let us enter that URL. Yes, now we are with the alias account ID. Now IAM user, IAM password. Let us create now. Got it? So this is what. So when we copy the above sign in URL and enter in the browser, we will get the login page as below with the alias, right? So also if we wants to log in back as the root account user, click on the sign root account link as shown below. However, now let me take a screenshot of this one. Perfect. Let me take a screenshot of this one and let me highlight this also. Okay, so AP South one here, and this is the alias what we have created. If you want to go back as a root user, we can the root user line as well. Just enter this. Perfect. Now let us go and then create one alias user. Sorry, one IAM user. I'm so sorry. So alias is what we have created. I believe we might now understood, right, the meaning of the alias, because it is very easy for the IAM user to remember the alias rather than the 12 digits account ID, right? So now this is the step 4. So step 4 is what? In user creation, step 1, step 2, step 3, and then step 4. 4 steps we have for the alias creation. Now let us go for the step 5. Step 5, create user. So in order to create user, what we have to do is click on the users, click on the users, click on the users link. We'll get the users creation page like this. So click on the users link in the left nav bar, the left navigation bar as shown below, as shown below, so that we will get the add users section, where we have the button to create the user as shown below. Perfect. Now just let me take a screenshot of it. Let me take a screenshot of it. So click on this users, and then we will get this window, and then we will get this page, and then click on this add users. This is what I'm talking about. Fine. Now step 6. Step 6. As soon as we click on add user button as shown above, add user button as shown above, let us see what we will get. I'm just clicking on this add user button. So when we click on that add user button, it is a 5-step process. The add user form will be opened. Button as shown above, the add user form will be opened with the 5 steps process. 5 steps with the 5 steps process. Create a user as shown below. Perfect. Now let me take a screenshot of it, because while we are working, if we take a step-by-step screenshot, that will be very helpful for you while you are practicing as well, isn't it? So maybe it will take little time, but let us go with this approach only. Fine. So this is the 5 steps process, and it is a add user, and then enter the username. Fine. So just take a screenshot of it. Now let me enter the username as vShopify admin. vShopify admin. This guy is what the vShopify admin, vShopify vShopify DevOps, vShopify tech, vShopify otherwise let us take. Okay, let us create vShopify admin for a while. Okay, then once after we give the username, then in the step 2, what we have to do, we have to use AWS access types. Very important this step. programmatic access and then password access. That means whatever the IAM user now we are creating, isn't it? So let me check this IAM user. So this IAM user now who we are creating, this IAM user will have two kinds of access. One is the AWS management console access. One is the AWS management console access. This guy can be able to access the console access. Second one is the programmatic access. Second one is the programmatic access. Programmatic access meaning, for example, from the code, if you want to use the any SDK, then the programmatic access should be required. So a user will have, IAM user will have the two kinds of accesses, programmatic access and then the console access. Usually for the development team, don't give the AWS console access, give the programmatic access. And for the DevOps team, give the console access, but don't give the programmatic access. For the managers and then architects, give the both the access. And from the customer, that means the client, give the both the access. So a user will have these two accesses, programmatic access and then the AWS management console management access.
Sir, some one doubt.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, sometimes they're not giving console access for the DevOps engineers also.
Required. Why? Because why required? DevOps engineers are the guys who will maintain the infrastructure. They must have the console access, because they're gonna, if they don't have the console access, for the DevOps engineers, if they don't have the console access, they can't do anything. I mean, they can't go and then log in, and then they can't configure the load balancers and all. Right? So they have the access, but they don't require the programmatic access. Not required.
If CLA access required, it comes under programmatic access, right, sir?
Correct. CLA access is required, it comes under programmatic access. Correct. Correct. CLI is command line interface. A console is web interface. Okay, fine. Now AWS management console access, programmatic access. So both the access we have to give. So let us give the, for this admin, let me give both the access. Okay, and then go to the next screen, that is the permissions. Go to the next screen, that is permission. I believe you now got an idea how to, where to whom we have to give the programmatic access, to whom we have to give the programmatic access, and to whom we have to give the console access. Please make sure that difference. Otherwise, being a root user, assume you might be a DevOps lead, assume client trust you a lot. He given the root user account to you, where asked you to create the users for other groups. Then you should be very conscious, like what access should have to be provided for which type of users. Okay. However, now let us this is not required. This is not required. Perfect. Okay, fine. Perfect. Now in the next screen, I'm going to the next screen. In the next screen, okay, so when we click on the next permissions button, the below page will be open. The below page will be open, where either we have to create a group and then assign the user, or we have to attach the policies for that user. Let me not do anything. I don't do anything. Right now, I don't do anything. See, permission boundary, we have a topic, we'll discuss later. I don't do anything. Okay. Either I don't attach any policy, or either I don't add this user under any group for now. just simply click on the tags section. Click on the next. I'm not choosing anything, isn't it? I'm not choosing anything. Next. When click on the tags button as shown above, we will get the below page. We will get the below page. Let me just click on the tags. Now, tags are optional below page. Where below page, where entering the tag, meaning a name and its value is an optional. Okay, but let us enter. For example, key is name, and then value is okay. Otherwise, let me not enter anything. Okay, just leave it blank. Just leave it blank. This is the step 3. Just leave it blank and then go to the review. So this is the step 3. Leave it blank and then click on the review. Perfect. Now, when we click on review button as shown above, we will get the screen like, just click on review. We'll get the screen like review of all information. Review. Did you remember? Okay, we will get the review screen. We will get the review screen as shown below. Here we need to note one thing. Probably you already have been noticed. Did we given this policy? No, right? It is automatically attached. And if you can see, required password reset, yes. And then console password type auto generated, right? And then the username is the Shopify admin. So let us take this one. First, let us go with the auto generate password. Then let us change the password when we log in for the first time with that auto generated password. Now click on the create user button. So let me just take the this button. This is very important. And click on the create user button. Click on the create user button. Perfect. Now, when we click on create user button, let's see what will happen. Create user button. Then the user will be created with the auto generated password and with the default password policy. The default password policy of changing password, resetting the password, policy of resetting the password, when the IAM user login, for the very first time. Now see, the default password is created. Show and then show, right? And we must have to download this CSV file. Very important. We must have to download the CSV file once it generated, meaning once the user is created. So very important, because that CSV file contains the password. Okay. As soon as the user is created, the user credentials, the user password credentials will be saved to the .csv file. So what you have to do, being a DevOps administrator user, being a administrator user, or being a cloud AWS cloud engineer, once you create a user, you have to send an email to that user by attaching this CSV file. You have to send an email to that user by attaching this CSV file, and also you have to send an email with the login instructions as well. Okay, so sending an email with the login instructions and all, we'll discuss later in time. So note, please don't be ignored to download the .csv file which contains the password, which contains the user password credentials, user password credentials, as this file will be generated at only once. Okay, fine. This is the note. Perfect. Now the user is created. Let me copy this user password. Let me copy this, and then for now let me keep it in a notepad. Perfect. Now what it is saying, as soon as we logged in, I think I have not taken this screenshot of it. Just let me take a screenshot of it. Yes, I have taken a screenshot, but let me retake a screenshot because I forgot to highlight the sign in console URL. So just create it and just click on this sign in console URL. This is the account key ID, and these are all the passwords. Passwords, a secret key, are very, very important for the programmatic access. Password, access key ID, access secret key are very, very important for the programmatic access. Done. Now click on the this URL. What I'll do is, let me copy this, go to incognito window. In incognito window, let me enter this URL. Right now I am username Shopify-admin, and then the password is this one. This is the password. Let me copy password. Okay, let me take a screenshot of it. Now once the user is created, go and then log in. Once after we log in, so I'm able to complete it just in a moment of time. I'm able to complete. Okay, so once this user is created, now tomorrow we'll discuss more details about this user creation and all. Okay, however, this is what okay, so once the user created, log in with the created IAM user credentials as shown below. This text, let me write here. Perfect. Now as soon as we click on login, right, as soon as we click on sign in button, the reset password page will be open as shown below, to reset the password. Now just let me go here, click on sign in. Oh, authentication is failed, it is saying. Let me copy the password properly. Auto generated password. So this is the auto generated password. Let me copy and then paste here. Now let me sign in. Perfect. Now this is what the password change page we will get very beginning time. Still, if you want to sign in as a root user, we can still sign in, but IAM username is this one, and then account is this one, 70 Now here one more important point that you guys need to look at. Who is this 70896? 70896 is who is root account, organization account, root account. So consider this 70896 is the root account ID, owner account ID, organization account ID, company account ID you can consider. In that company, we are creating this user called vShopify admin, isn't it? Now let us enter the password, old password. So let me give the old password. And this is the old password. New password, let me give admin. I think password policies are there. So or else let me give admin and then admin simple, and then confirm password change. Password does not conform to the account password policy. So password is not conforming to the account password policy. What I will do now, admin @ okay, what I will do now is admin @2022 and admin @2022. So please remember this password and then let me know. Now see, password has been changed. So when the password has been changed, now we were being logged in as a IAM user. So as soon as we change the password, we will be able to land on to the AWS management console with the IAM user for a particular account ID. That means for a particular company. So copy it and then let me paste it here. So as soon as we enter the password in the above screen, let me write that 3. So as soon as we reset the password, we reset the password by choosing the password in the above screen, we will be auto redirected to AWS management console, as a IAM user as shown below. Okay, so this is what the console we automatically get redirected to. And one note also I would like to say here. Note the password, while we are resetting, make sure it will be with one special character and with one number, and having at least 8 characters length. So this is one note point. I think writing the note here itself will make sense. So just let me scroll down and then copy this or cut it. Let me write a note here. That's all for today, folks. So just now we have created the IAM user creation, and tomorrow let us see the next topic, that is the security credentials and multi-factor authentication credentials report. I think these 3 we can cover tomorrow. That's all from my side. Do you have any questions for me?
Yes, sir. So from tomorrow, like before joining tomorrow's class, we will have to pay, right?
Yes, correct. Today is the last demo. Yes, before joining the tomorrow session. Yeah, you have.
Every day it will be between 8 to 9:15.
Correct.
Okay, sir. Fine.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay, folks. I will upload these notes to our Google Classroom so that you can follow these notes every day, step-by-step approach. That's all from my side. If I don't have anything, then
I have one question. Just the question is not related to today's class. Actually, I have created an AWS account, and it has been 1 year passed. So do I need to create my account again? Means what will be the proper do I need to create my account again, or
Not required, not required. You can use the old account itself only if you remember the password. Okay. If you remember the password, then use the old account only. If you don't
okay,
even
so
remember
no charge will be applied if I create users and these kind of stuff.
yes,
So
yes, nothing. No charge will be applied.
okay.
Okay. That's all, folks. So tomorrow onwards, thank Venkat. So tomorrow onwards, let us back onto our older link. Okay. I'll talk to our backend team to give us again our older link. And thanks for your cooperation, guys, who are already have been joined for the DevOps with AWS. So thanks for attending this AWS demos. Thank you so much, and see you
Sir,
tomorrow.
one question, sir. Like still microservices classes are going on morning, sir. Morning
Yes,
8
yes.
o'clock.
Yes, going on. And then Strangler pattern is decomposition pattern is completed today. Meaning first pattern is completed today.
Sir, design patterns as well as the microservices theory also, right? Theoretically also we were teaching.
Both. Yes, theory plus implementation, both parallelly going on.
Oh, both in the same class only, right, sir?
Same class only, correct.
Okay, sir. I'm planning to join that class also. Okay.
Okay,
Tomorrow.
sure.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, folks. See you.